AJ Styles' Michael Scott, Mustafa Ali and Trevor Ricochet. That went long. I tell you what, this week's Raw, it had some good bits, so it did. And I've been thinking this for the entire build to Survivor Series 2020. It's nothing we haven't seen before, but this week it was really hammered home. So hard, so bloody hard, we got fisted good and hard. Surely the members of each Raw Survivor Series team would be willing to put their differences to one side for the good of the brand. If this brand-to-brand supremacy thing, why I'm doing Eddie Guerrero, I've got no idea. If this brand-to-brand supremacy thing that WWE are pushing was as big and as meaningful as they claim it is. Oh no, wait, it means absolutely bugger all, so we're just gonna fight each other each and every week, making Survivor Series 2020 and those traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series tag team matches feel less and less and less as the weeks go on and on and on. I've concluded now that nobody wants to win Survivor Series 2020 and everyone wants to do just what's best for them. When we beat the Wrestle Twats back in 2018, me and Adam, we don't get along, but we put our differences to one side and we beat those twats, those wrestle twats. But I am Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic Wrestling. This is trying to be a mustache. It's not dried on Nutella. I'm doing Movember. I'm raising money for a good cause. Links to me pages can be found in my Instagram bio and on my Twitter page, both at Ross on Wrestling. But without any further ado, intro man over there, get your little finger ready as we take a look at all the WTF moments from last night's Raw. Yep, I wrong. Yep, I wrong. But we're kicking things off with a direct quote from Byron Saxton himself when he was speaking about that matchup there from last night's Raw, when he said, if this match were for the championship, it could be one of the main events of WrestleMania. And in the words of ITV and Cookery's Gino DeCampo, Byron Saxton, if my grandmother had wheels, she would have been a bike. But she doesn't, so she isn't. I'm just saying it. I'm just gonna say it. Nia Jax in the main event of WrestleMania, Byron Saxton. However, man, sort your life out, will you, Byron Saxton? We all know you might fancy Nia Jax, and once upon a time, a few short years ago, you tried to lure her to your house with some apple pie that'll make your toes curl or something creepy like that. Byron, what the hell's wrong with you? But you need to put your bias for Nia Jax to one side while you're appearing on WWE Raw for the sake of your career, Byron. And then we have a direct quote from Randall Keith. That's lovely feeling on the mouth. He says to John Morrison, you took your ball, you went home and you wrestled for the minor leagues. Well, we know where we're going here, don't we, Randall? I'm gonna ask you 3 questions, Randall Keith, you no good diddling snack. I know you watch these videos, I can see you. First of all, would the supposed minor leagues offer CM Punk a full $1 million to return to professional wrestling, even though they've got no more than 5 whole pounds in their bank account? I don't think they would. The minor leagues, my arse. Would the minor leagues release what might just be the worst professional wrestling video game of all the times? I don't think they would, but the minor leagues in this case, they did do just that. And finally, Randall Keith, you ask yourself the question, would the minor leagues give Jake Hager himself, AEW's hoss of all the hosses, would they give Jake Hager a live microphone so Jake Hager could do this?
Everybody in this building knows who I am. Huh? I could go on and on about the attributes that I have won to further explain who I am, but this is only a 3-hour show, so let's get to the point. Huh? I want you to get a big old wham burger, some French fries. Huh? I said French fries. It's funny, it's a joke. Huh?
So there we are, Jake Hager putting his point of view across.
Huh?
Let me tell you, Randall Keith, John Morrison, Jomo himself is the first ever and the longest reigning 5-star wrestling champion in that illustrious promotion's rich and varied history. He held that title for 757 days, and some might say that's because 5-star wrestling advertised to do some shows, and then those shows never happened, but that's besides the point. 757 days in a major league promotion like 5-star wrestling is nothing, I repeat, nothing to sort of glance over. So take that, Randy Orton, how dare you? And then we've got to speak about this link here after that opening segment. Kevin? Dun 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 dun. What the hell are you doing? It would be like if I was here presenting these WTF Moments videos, and these videos were produced a little bit something like this, where the music was turned so high you couldn't hear. What I'm trying to say is, though, dear viewer, is that I could not hear a single word that Samoa Joe especially was saying. And more on Samoa Joe in that link. Go back and watch that link immediately after the first segment of the night and just look at Samoa Joe's chair. While Samoa Joe is speaking, it's wobbling backwards and forwards as if it's the chair version of the boogeyman. He is the boogeyman, and he's... You remember how it goes, don't you? Oh, that hurt. And I'm sure once you've watched that, if you haven't watched it already, of course, you're left asking one question like I was. Samoa Joe, do you have a vibrator under there, you dirty, dirty bastard? And of course, we've got to ask ourselves the question, what the hell could the M stand for on Riddle's jacket there? It simply cannot be a first initial, because I don't care how your life works. In life, in general, you don't just get a first name and then lose it for no reason whatsoever. So what could that M actually stand for? Now I'm going to stand here and present to you a hack theory as to what that M could stand for. And I'm banking on that M there being in a similar vein to the Danone yogurt adverts we see on the television. In those adverts, of course, we hear Danone. But on that jacket there, it's Riddle. You know it's true. Now we all know how triple threat matches work, don't we? The first person to get a pinfall or a submission, they win the match. So I'm asking the question, Riddle, why the hell are you just standing there watching Elias trying to pin Jeffrey Hardy as if you already knew? Because this was a scripted professional wrestling matchup. The plan was for Jeff Hardy to kick out of that pinfall attempt by Elias himself. Riddle me that one. Riddle me that one. Now, does anybody else find it weird that Dana Brooke of all people can sit there shaking her head at Lana? It's literally like me standing here and saying to insert celebrity name here, hey, if you just ate a bit better and got yourself down to the gym a few times a week, you wouldn't be putting on the weight you're putting on. Bit hypocritical, Dana. And I don't care what you say, I've been watching WWE TV for long enough now to know that Dana Brooke, within the realms of storytelling and kayfabe, just like Lana in this storyline and in this kayfabe we're living in November of 2020, she's not very good. Go back to Money in the Bank this year and you will see Lana and Dana Brooke have to be on a similar level up the totem pole of WWE in-ring abilities, don't they? They have to be. So why is Dana Brooke sitting there going, oh, you're just so bad, Lana? Look closer to home, Dana, you dick. And so then we head backstage, and the utter bollocks from Dana Brooke herself, it continues. We have Lana, who walks up to Dana and to Mandy, and she says, Dana and Mandy, thank you so much for saving me from Nia Jax and the table. So we've heard Lana say thank you, and then Dana gets all uppity and replies to Lana, helping you? We saved your butts, Lana. Lana has more than one arse. Different jacket, still has an M on it. What could it mean? It has to be, hasn't it? Riddle. It'll catch on, honestly. That's what Vince McMahon's going for. That's the scoop there. Go and tell Dave Meltzer. Riddle. Anyway, the wrestling news told us that Matt Riddle had impressed Vince McMahon so much that Vince McMahon himself wanted to give Riddle a serious push right up the card. And Vince McMahon thought to do that, he had to take away the Matt from Matt Riddle, just call him Riddle, make him more serious. We've got a main event star, so we do. So in the face of the wrestling news' huge scopes, Matt Riddle, no first name, serious push right up the card by Vince McMahon himself. This week's Raw rolls around and we have thick, Code names, bruh. Oh, that's right, everybody. The more serious and freshly pushed and first nameless Matt Riddle reckons everything will be all right on Team Raw as long as they all have sick code names. Hey. And in this moment right here, as if we didn't know this already, everything in wrestling news is absolute bollocks. Sheamus' face right there, it says it all, doesn't it? And just in case you haven't seen this week's Monday Night Raw and you want to know what the sick code names Matt Riddle gave to his partners, he came up with Skipper for AJ Styles, Mongoose for Braun Strowman, Broly for Keith Lee, and Fireface for Sheamus, because he's ginger. And when you think about Skipper and Mongoose and Broly and Fireface, it looks like we have a rival for Retribution. Similarly stupid names, don't you agree? Retribution versus Retrobrotion. Take that one to the bank, Vince McMahon. And next up we have Tom Phillips doing what Tom Phillips does best, now his face fornicating the poo out of a line on WWE Raw commentary. Oh, he likes it good. And this came after we saw Bobby Lashley make Titus O'Neil his bitch. Oh, his bitch. Titus was his bitch. It was lovely to see. People wanking it. But after this Bobby Lashley bitch-making session, Tom Phillips piped up and Tom Phillips said, "Whoa, lads, imagine if Bobby Lashley can do that to a man the size of Titus worldwide, imagine what he could do to Sami Zayn at Survivor Series." And I was thinking inside my deranged mind, Tom Phillips, that would just be like saying, "Whoa, imagine if Bobby Lashley could do that to the man the size of the Great Khali. Imagine what he could do to a man as little and tiny as AJ Styles." It makes no sense, Tom Phillips. It makes no sense. That's not how the wrestling works, and you know that. And next up we have Sheamus speaking to his old pal there, Drew McIntyre. "Let's go out for a beer there," Drew. He was saying to Drew. I really like that dynamic. I like how Sheamus is still a heel, but Drew, he knows what Sheamus is like. Stop being so silly and angry, Sheamus. Let's go for a pint after the wrestling matches like a couple of blokey blokes. I like the potential tag team here, it's just got to be said. But we have Sheamus claiming to Daddy Drew McIntyre are back on the independent scene way back in the day. That's the wrong accent altogether. But we have Sheamus claiming to Daddy Drew McIntyre that way back on the day when they were wrestling together on the independent scenes like 2.5 decades ago. Something mad like that. They were bro kicking and claymoring every single fool in sight. And I was watching that thinking to myself, but Sheamus, that just simply cannot be true. How many times have we heard Daddy Drew McIntyre himself saying that he invented the claymore when he was back in 3MB and his leather pants were a bit too tight and he had to kick up both legs when doing a running big boot? That was in 2013, maybe 14. That wasn't when you were on the independent, so you, Sheamus, are a liar. But look in the background of that shot there, everybody. It's Mercy the Buzzard. Hey! WWE giving away, telegraphing exactly what's going to happen next week. Mercy the Buzzard there. No sighting of Bray Wyatt whatsoever. Bray Wyatt costing Drew McIntyre. Bray versus Drew at TLC next month. You know it's going to happen. Roman versus Randy, that's as safe as houses. But next up we have Tom Phillips back in his face fornicating the poo out of a line on WWE commentary when he claims that on a random episode of Monday Night Raw, a couple of weeks before Survivor Series, a non-title matchup between Nia Jax and Asuka, who aren't even involved in the same matches on the Survivor Series card, has huge implications for Survivor Series. And I couldn't work this one out, everybody, so I enlisted the help of my good old pal, Mr. Jim Halpert, who told me that Nia Jax and Asuka are related to Survivor Series through delusion. That's how that one goes. Thank you, Jim. And then bam, 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 a face fornicating hat-trick from Tom Phillips. I have no shame. And so even though Tom Phillips must have heard Byron Saxton say the words that came out of Byron Saxton's mouth at the start of last night's Raw, which I covered of course at the start of this video about Nia Jax versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship main eventing a WrestleMania, and despite hearing those words come out of Byron Saxton's mouth, Tom Phillips repeated them. and I can't work out why. Well, I guess at least Lana could have a sweetie if she wanted to, which is ironic, of course, because after 8 straight weeks of the same thing happening and then Lana rocking up every single week, not hurt at all, maybe a bit emotionally damaged, but not physically. This whole Nia Jax and Lana and the table thing is starting to suck, much like the thing that you do to a boiled sweet, which is right there. I'm a journalist. And somehow, someway, bless his cotton rubbish trousers, Tucker looks even worse than he did last week. The pants are still there, which is a huge WTF moment all by itself, but what's more, they've gave him his old heavy machinery singlet thing, told him, hey, look like Taz in 2002, wear your crappy pants with a singlet, go out there and steal the show, Tucker. Serves him right for turning on Otis. You had this coming, Tucker, you had this coming. And it just beggars belief, doesn't it? I firmly believe Tucker's heel turn has really suffered because there was no crowd inside the Thunderdome to react and then riot some more and then burn the Thunderdome down with fire. But surely the plan could not have been for Tucker to turn on Otis. Otis, one of the hottest acts in WWE, even though they tried to not make him hot each and every week. Why did they never make him? Anyway, they turned him heel and now he's going for the 24/7 title. That can't have been the plan. Why would Tucker do that when he had such a good thing hitching his wagon to that hot, sexy bastard called Otis? It makes no sense, does it? And by the way, I have seen Tucker's tweet about how 17 years alongside Otis, no titles, 2 weeks without Otis, 2 titles, but the 24/7 title, it don't count. Take that one, Tucker. Mike Rome, you are a dick. So last week while watching Raw Talk, I learned that I've been saying Mustafa Ali completely wrong for so many years now. So to Mustafa Ali, I would like to send my most humble apologies. I'm very sorry. Blame my silly Geordie accent. But then we whap on this week's Raw. We see Retribution making their crazy entrance down to the ring with all the silly camera work, which still hasn't gone away. Why hasn't it gone away? It looks rubbish, WWE. We hear Mike Rome still pronouncing it Mustafa, as if he's some sort of cow. And I was just thinking, Mike Rome, you must have watched Raw Talk. Everybody watches Raw Talk. Stop being such a disrespectful knob, Mike Rome. And for a third time, this is becoming a problem because all I can say right here is, Riddle. Will it catch on? Will it not? You decide. And then a Retribution went and won a match. The end is nigh, the end is nigh, time to run away, the end is nigh, nigh. And then we learned via Adam Pearce that the Boffins who are putting together Monday Night Raw, and he is the puppet for, of course, he does all that dirty work. What a cuck you are, Adam Pearce. He told us that the Boffins have booked a WWE title match between Randall Keith and Daddy Drew for next week's Raw, even though next week's Raw happens a few short days before Survivor Series 2020. And I'm asking, how can this make any sense? First of all, you're knackering a couple of your Raw roster members ahead of this brand-to-brand supremacy load of bollocks. And second of all, have the Boffins who put together WWE Raw got no faith in Randall Keith? Why would you book him in a match for his title when he has a champion versus champion match at Survivor Series if you didn't want to see him face off against SmackDown's champion, the big dog Roman Reigns, of course? Why would I just can't work it out. Why does this match have to happen a few short days before Survivor Series when everything's kind of set in stone? And then we've got to mention this as well. We have a whole bloody week of everybody and their dog promoting Daddy Drew McIntyre appearing on A Moment of Bliss. We flick on this week's Raw. We have an opening segment that feels like it was thrown together right at the last minute, and we don't see a moment of bliss whatsoever. As I said earlier, I think it's forecasting exactly what's going to happen next week. The Fiend gets involved, he costs Daddy Drew, Randy Orton goes on to face Roman Reigns at Survivor Series, Daddy Drew and The Fiend then go off to TLC for a massive hammer match, a Claymore hammer versus a big comedy hammer. It's what you want to see. Or maybe they can whap their cocks out. But that's it for your WTF moments from this week's installment of Monday Night Raw. By and large, it was a bit of a damp squib, as some people like to call it, but there were a few highlights that I spoke about at the start of this video, just in case you missed them. I've been Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic Wrestling. This has been my attempt at a handlebar moustache. I've still got a bit of time to grow it. Hopefully, I'll look like a real man by the end of the month. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.